Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Daily Word. We are on the first day of the first week of a new year, January 3rd, 2022. Glad you could join me again as we begin yet another year of our Daily Word. And we begin our, 21st month of being together and sharing in this Daily Word. You can see I'm still in the sanctuary. I figured as long as the tree's up, which is another week, that I would come to you from the sanctuary and then probably move back to the fireside room next week. So anyway, we'll continue to be in the sanctuary. So this morning's text, as I thought about it and as I searched out some things to talk about, this text is an important one, I think, as we begin a new year. And as we think about what our lives are going to look like and all the things we have planned for the year, vacations, if we're going to retire, things we might have to do in life, if we're going to wait for the birth of new babies as we are in our families in this year, all the things that take place for us as we live our lives together. So this is a familiar text that we're going to hear this morning. So listen to these words from Matthew. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the floods rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the very first songs I ever learned as a young person was the song that goes with this text. The wise man built his house upon the rocks. The wise man built his house upon the rocks. Y'all can do that, right? And we learned the song. The rains came down and the floods came up, and the house on the rock stood firm. But then the second verse, the foolish man built his house upon the sand, and it washed away. It's a song that's stuck with me forever. Now, I don't know, as a kid, when you learn songs like that, I don't know if you ever understand the significance of it when you're singing it, but you learn it and it becomes a part of who you are. It sticks with you as it has stuck with me. And so I think about this text and these words that Jesus gives to us. Now, there are several things that are taking place in this text. First, Jesus says, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice. So what were these words of mine that Jesus gave? We could probably make this long list of the words of Jesus, right? Love God, love your neighbor, forgive 70 times 7, being called to be fishers of people, healing, forgiving, all the things that Jesus talks about. When Jesus talks about in the Sermon on the Mount, when he calls us to care for each other, he says, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice. In other words, takes the words, and for me, the words of these songs that I've learned as a kid and are important to who I am, and put them into practice, he says, is like a wise person who builds their house on the rock, on a firm foundation. The rains come, the streams rise, the winds blow, beat against the house, and it doesn't fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But then Jesus said, everyone who hears these words and doesn't put them into practice is like a foolish person who builds their house on the sand. The rains come, the streams rise, the winds blow and beat against that house, and it falls with a crash. Now, it's interesting, right, that Jesus calls us to listen, hear the words, and then put them into practice. We often probably have said to our kids growing up, we give them advice and then they go do whatever they want. And we kind of know that. But we keep giving the advice, right? When Jesus talks, we either listen or we don't. We either put them to practice or we don't. And for us, in this text, Jesus gives us two home building packages. The first one is that we build our house on a firm foundation, a foundation that matters, that is structurally sound, that passes inspection, that has all the proper things needed to make sure that it stands. Now, we understand that from a building standpoint, but what does it mean for us? For us, it's about hearing God's word and putting it into practice, about living faithful lives, about loving God, indeed, loving God and loving our neighbor. It is about forgiving one another and using the foundation that we know to make a difference in the world as we share our lives with each other. So we choose, for all of us, we choose to build our house on the rock, a solid foundation, or a house on a foundation of sand. Now, that really makes no sense, right, to build a house on a foundation of sand. But Jesus says there's really two choices, and there's really no middle ground. We either listen and put it into practice, or we listen and don't put it into practice. So here's the fact of life in this text that Jesus gives to us, and we know it well, and I think it suits us to think about as we enter a new year, as we think about our lives and what we do together. I said in my letter, if you get the weekly email, I said in my New Year letter, this idea about loving God and loving each other. This idea of staying connected with each other. I think we stay connected best, when we gather for worship, when you come on Wednesday night, we stay best connected when we gather in all kinds of ways. But here's the facts. So storms indeed will come. The rain came down. It's a fact. Storms come in our lives and they come against our house. And it's true for this house, our faith, our lives. The streams will rise and the winds will blow and all kinds of things happen to us in our lives. The foundation determines the future for us. So where do we stand? What do we do together to make a difference in the world? I'm always shocked, and I always have been, that when difficulties happen in life, people stay away from church. And I've never understood that, because I know in all the churches I've served, including this one, that when people come in the midst of their difficulties, whatever they are, big or small, we have always chosen, and will always choose to love you through it. The foundation, the solid foundation is here. The storms will come, but if our foundation is built upon the sand, then we just crash, as the scripture says to us. Even the most humble shanty built on a firm foundation is a fortress that helps us endure all the things that happen to us in life. So I think about what it means for us to move into a new year. Here we are, this first day of the very first full week, and all the things that beckon for our attention. All the things that call to us, all the things that we want to do. We plan ahead. We put things on our calendar. I wonder for us if we should stop, if we should take a hard look at our foundation, make sure where it needs to be, to shore it up. I said at the second Christmas Eve service that we had, of course, not long ago, our folks gathered. We don't have a big crowd at 11 o'clock, but we had quite a few people. And we, of course, light the candle from the Christ candle. And I said to the folks gathered at that second service, I know that in the new year, we're going to face difficulties. And it's going to feel like our flame is dim. And for some of us, it feels like the flame might go out. And I said to those gathered, and I'll say to you, look, when you think your flame's gone out, when you think you need it relit or re-energized, call me up, text me, we'll talk through it, or come here. We'll grab some candles. I'm going to keep them handy right close. We don't have to go searching for them. I know where they are, and we'll light a flame together again. Because you see, I think the best way we keep our foundation solid is to do that together. So I offer that to you as well. Look, when you think your flame or your foundation's not where it needs to be, call me up, come talk to me, send me a text, show up here, make an appointment with me if need be. We'll light a flame together. We'll hold it up high again, and we'll build and rebuild and build and rebuild our foundation together. The rain's going to come, the storms will come. We know that full well. The question is, the facts are, if our foundation's solid, we'll withstand it. We'll withstand it together as we go through life. One of the most important things that I think we do together is endure. Together. We do it together. And that's my prayer for all of us, that we keep our foundation solid, and when we need help with our foundation, that we ask for it, that we light a candle together, and be reminded that even in the hardest storms of life, we are in this together. It's why I continue to do this daily word thing. Could have stopped, could have given up. I don't want to, because I think it helps us. It helps me to keep our foundation solid and to know that we gather together. Right now, I look at my phone. It says there are 6 people watching. By the end of the week, there'll be over 100 views. Might be several people watching it more than once, but as you see, together, our foundation is secured. That's what we do on Sunday morning. That's what we'll do Sunday. We're going to share in the sacrament of communion. We're going to remember our baptism, the foundation where it began. So I hope this word is a good one for you. I hope this word reminds you about your foundation. Maybe what we just need to do is sing the song together. The wise man built his house upon the rocks. There's no middle ground, Jesus says. We either listen and obey, or we listen and ignore. May our foundations be built on the solid rock of God's presence in our lives. So, thanks for joining me today. Enjoy the beauty of today. It's cold, but sun shining through the windows in the sanctuary. Know of God's love, mercy, and grace in your lives in this new year. If you need help, if your foundation needs help, call me. Come and we'll talk about it. Know of God's love. Know of my love for all of you. And I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock.